Thank you so much for tuning in to our daily devotional where we can connect with you and get you connected to God's Word. Specifically, I'm starting a 3-part series today called Feed Your Faith. I don't know how many of you are in the same boat, but a lot of people are kind of doing the quarantine where you feed yourself a lot of food. There's articles written about this that it just seems to be the time that people are really like trying to bulk up. I don't know. Not that I'm taking part in that, but maybe I kind of am. But it's easy when you're sitting at home or when you don't have access to your regular routine that you start to go places you normally wouldn't. And you start to do things that you probably shouldn't. And the purpose of our time over the next 3 days is I'm going to get you not to feed your fear, but to feed your faith. We're all in the same situation, but we're not all in the same boat. So I want to really look at one story, and this story is a very famous one. In fact, from the Old Testament. And it takes place right after the nation of Israel had been freed from the slavery and the bondage of Egypt. If you remember the story, it's a remarkable story. God led them out of Egypt. They crossed the Red Sea on dry land, and God enabled the sea to tumble over their enemies. So we see that God is able to do this great delivering, beautiful work. But the nation of Israel changed how they viewed this deliverance over time. You see, they were constantly griping and upset about the way God was leading them because they preferred the certainty of slavery versus the uncertainty of what God was doing. And I wonder how many of us are doing that. I wonder how many of us would rather focus on the negative patterns that we have established in our past and not really focus on the work that God is trying to do in our future, though it be uncertain. Right now, it's uncertain. And that's exactly where the nation of Israel finds themselves. God says that He's going to give them this wonderful land of promise. It's going to be a land that they call flowing from milk and honey. And in this land in particular, it was like unlike anything that God's people had ever experienced in Egypt. But they were told that they were to go and possess the land. So Moses tells them that they're to send, he sends 12 spies for them to go and stake out the land, see what's going on with the land. And remember, the land right now is occupied by God's enemies. So we see this is what is told of the spies. It says here in Numbers chapter 13, verse 20. Whether the land is rich or poor, so meaning just go look at the land, no matter what, whatever's going on in the land, whether it's rich or poor, and whether there are trees in it or not, be of good courage and bring some of the fruit from the land. So they're told to go to this land, be careful because it's filled with God's enemies, and they are told specifically to bring back some fruit in the land. Now, what's interesting about this is the Bible also says, now there are times in the seasons where the first ripe grapes happen. And what's that mean? That means that God is sending them to enemy territory, somewhere uncertain, somewhere that this is what God had planned for them. But there's going to be good stuff in there. Good stuff. Fruit of the land. There are seasons of fruit and ripe grapes. Here's the encouragement for today. How do you feed your faith for today? It's simple. I want you to ask yourself right now, what good is going on in this land of uncertainty? Ask yourself. Talk to your family about this. Talk to maybe coworkers that you're now having to do Zoom calls with, or talk to some people. Just, I want you to, is it maybe that you've had more time to evaluate things that are important? Is it maybe that you have had more time to spend with your family and really get to know what's going on with them? Is it maybe that you are really looking at your own life spiritually for the first time and evaluating it? What kind of fruit is going on in the land? I know it's enemy territory. I know that this isn't where you expected to be. And I'm sorry that we're here right now. But the good news is, this is the season of the first ripe grapes. How do you feed your faith? Look for the fruit in the land of uncertainty. Look for the fruit in the land of uncertainty. What's going on? Write it down. Share it on Facebook. Say, this is what God is doing in my land of uncertainty. Share it with friends. This is what God is doing in my land of uncertainty. He's forced me to really evaluate my thinking patterns. He's forced me to really change what I do when it comes to the way I relate to my spouse or my kids. He's forced me to really evaluate the way we've been spending money, because right now money has become a problem. This is your time. Feed your faith, focus on the fruit, and continue to seek Jesus.